Well, now we know how the murderer at the Sutherland Springs Church was able to obtain his weapons. Hey, everybody, I'm Chad Hasty, host of the Chad Hasty Show, which airs weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 a.m. KFYO. Well, a lot of questions that have been coming out about the shooting at that very small church in Sutherland Springs, Texas. One of the questions that's been asked is, if the shooter had been court-martialed back in 2012 and been convicted and confined for a year due to basically domestic abuse, abusing his wife and his child, how was he able to buy a gun? In the civilian world, if you were convicted of domestic abuse, if you beat your wife, beat your child, you're not going to be able to purchase a firearm. In the state of Texas, when he went to attempt to purchase or apply for a license to carry, he was rejected, but he was still able to buy guns. So how was that possible? Well, we found out on Monday. The Air Force admitted an error that took place. According to the New York Times, a day after a gunman massacred parishioners at the small Texas church, the Air Force admitted Monday that it had failed to enter the man's domestic violence court-martial into a federal database that could have blocked him from purchasing the rifle he used to kill at least 26 people. The conviction of the gunman, Devin P. Kelley, for domestic assault on his wife and infant stepson. He had, according to the New York Times here, Kelley had cracked the child's skull. Should have stopped Kelley from legally purchasing the military-style rifle and 3 other guns that he bought in the last 4 years, but that information was never entered by the Air Force into the federal database for background checks on gun purchases, the service said. Quote, the Air Force has launched a review on how the service handled the criminal records of former Airman Devin P. Kelley following his 2012 domestic violence conviction. The Air Force said in a statement, federal law prohibited him from buying or possessing firearms after his conviction. Sadly, from those who I have spoken to and from what I heard last on Sunday night on a couple of different news stations, this wouldn't be out of the norm for information from the military not to be entered into the federal database. It is a huge, huge, huge error that could have prevented this massacre from happening on Sunday. Now, I say could have because I still believe, I can't say with any certainty that he would have been stopped. You put another obstacle in front of him, it maybe would have delayed things. But as we have seen in other areas with very stringent gun laws, if not outright bans on guns, criminals find a way to buy a gun. Criminals find a way to get their hands on a gun. Look here in Lubbock at Texas Tech University. You had a student who was not legally able to purchase a gun or have a gun, and he stole a gun from a friend and used that gun in the murder of a Texas Tech police officer. Look at what we see in other major city centers where you see people who are not legally able to purchase a weapon. They're able to buy it elsewhere and use those guns in crimes. So I don't know if the Air Force, if they had entered in all of this scumbag's information into the FBI database, if it would have stopped him, but it would have been another obstacle, and it should have been done. Congress needs to go back and they need to order a review of all court-martials, every single court-martial that has happened within the last few years, 10 years, 20 years, however far you want to go back, and make sure that information has been entered into the FBI background information. Those who, if you crack an infant's skull, you beat your wife, you're convicted of domestic abuse, you don't need to buy a gun. You obviously can't be trusted. This guy obviously could not be trusted. he had some issues, he had anger issues, maybe mental issues, whatever it was, he could not be trusted to be a responsible gun owner. And those of us who are responsible gun owners, we need to make sure that the system is right, that the system is good, and that the system allows for only responsible gun owners to be able to purchase these firearms. That doesn't mean that we do all of these expanded background checks or that we limit how many guns people are able to buy. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to make sure that if the rules are one way for civilians, they're the same way for those members of the U.S. military as well. And we need to make sure that the information from the military is moved over to the FBI into their background information. I'm not calling for a total revamp of the military jury, military justice system or anything like that. I'm just saying communication needs to happen, and we need to make sure that those who are convicted and those who are convicted under their court-martial, those who are convicted of domestic abuse, that information needs to be transferred over into the FBI database. Many of those out there wonder what we can do after an attack that we saw on Sunday. How can we all come together and make it better for everyone? This is how. A review needs to be done. We need to make sure that those who purchase guns are responsible gun owners. Tune in to the Chad Hasty Show weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time. News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. Have a great day.